Hello, and welcome back to the Red Zone Report Football Psychotics. Our passion, your entertainment, new era. I am Jordan Rossell here with my co-host Carlos Magdaleno, and we are your ultimate destination for all things Huskers, college football, NFL football, and all the latest sports news.
So this week we're going to be starting it a little different. We're going to be talking about the top 25 and all the chaos that happened this last weekend. Then we're going to be jumping into our segment 6 and 60, talking about our 6 games in 1 minute. Each person has 60 seconds to pick 6 games. Then we'll jump into our segment Studs and Duds, which players are going to be merged this week and which players are going to kind of fall off. And then last but not least, we're going to touch on the latest Huskers game against the Rutgers and just kind of recap that a little bit. And that'll be a podcast for you guys. So going forward, if you want some insight, this is the place to be. Don't forget about it. Go to our YouTube channel, Red Zone Report. And that's it. Let's move on to the first segment.
Yes. So big week we got here for episode 3 of Red Zone Report. Let's start with, obviously you said, the top 25. A lot of shakeups happened this week in the top 25. So we have a new number 1 in town. Texas takes over as new number 1. 5-0. I mean, they haven't played many, top teams, but they do go into the Battle of Bedlam against Oklahoma this week. Yeah, going to be a big game. Obviously, Ohio State moves up. Oregon is new in the top 4. They sit at number 3. Alabama, after that big loss to Vanderbilt.
Huge loss.
That was big. They dropped 6 spots.
Crazy game that happened there. It started out with Jalen Milroe throwing that tipped pick 6, and it seemed like everything went down from there, and they just couldn't pick back up. They had plays. Ryan Williams caught big touchdown over 2 guys.
Vanderbilt just looked dominant.
It just their defense couldn't stop. I mean, Vandy put up 40 against Bama. That's crazy. It blew my mind just seeing that. And
in the field goal post, down the street, into the water,
and then they got fined. They got fined $100,000 for that.
That's worth it, man. If you're taking down Alabama and putting up that many points, I mean, that's worth it.
Yeah, that's never happened.
I think the craziest thing was that Vanderbilt played Nick Saban saying that the easiest place to play in the SEC is Vanderbilt.
That is crazy.
They played that on the big screen after their win.
That's hilarious. I love it.
I think Nick Saban has he has the right to say that. He never lost against Vanderbilt, to my knowledge. But yeah, big win for Vanderbilt, tough loss for Alabama. Then we go into Tennessee dropping 4 spots to number 8 with their loss. Obviously, kind of a tough loss there for them.
And I saw that I watched that game, and I said before, I was telling Jordan before this, I was like, I think Tennessee's going to win, but I think there's a chance that Arkansas could cover the spread.
Yeah.
And because they've been playing teams tough, they're not a bad team. They're sneaky good, but not good enough to be what they would probably want.
Yeah, it was a sneaky
win. They're showing teams, and they're proving themselves that they belong.
I was shocked. I will admit, I was shocked on that one. I did not think Rocky Top was going to take one. Then we moved to number 15, Texas A&M, jumped up 10 spots from 25 on their big win. Yeah, I mean, dominant win there. So then we moved down to number 15, Texas A&M, who jumped up 10 spots, beating a tough Missouri team. And, they just kind of
number 9.
They just kind of took it to them. Luther Burden, he couldn't get anything going. It was just a tough loss for Missouri. They dropped clear down to number 21. They dropped 12 spots.
That's a big loss they had there, and it showed. I mean, people were saying, Missouri's going to be a bust this year. I didn't think that until I watched that game.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think Texas A&M was going to be all that.
No.
They were at home, and they beat them 41-10.
That's a dominant win.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we moved down to number 18, Indiana. Jumped up 5 spots. Kind of a sensitive topic to talk about right now on the bye week. But, we'll dive into them next week, see what they're all about, and kind of go from there. But they're 6-0, sitting at number 18. Be a good way to spoil their undefeated season for the second team in a row after we just spoiled Rutgers' undefeated season. Yeah. And obviously we touched on Missouri dropping 12 spots down to 21. New to the rankings, Pitt 5-0 Pitt went to 22. Chief Borders plays for Pitt. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Transfer from
Husker
Nebraska, if you don't
Husker
know.
guy. Yeah, a Husker
Yeah.
guy went to play for Pitt. He's playing pretty well this year. And then Michigan, big loss there. Dropped
Big.
14 spots to 24. They're 4 and
And
2 right now.
to be honest with you, as a 4-2 team, I don't even think they should be ranked right now.
I don't think so either. They're not playing well. I mean, barely squeak out a win against
I,
Minnesota.
the thing is like they don't even know who their quarterback is yet.
No,
Still, I mean, we're in week 6, and they played Alex Orgy, and
they're just
then
bouncing back and forth.
about halfway through, yeah, they put Tuttle in there.
Yeah.
He fumbles the ball. You know, they just don't really know who their standout guy is, and I don't know if there is one, honestly.
No,
It's
no.
it's a rough go there in Ann Arbor for them. So
Yeah, for sure. And then to round it all out, SMU was not ranked last week, and now they're a 5-1 team sitting at number 25.
beating number 22 Louisville, coming off a
Big win. Yes, I called that one if I don't recall in the
You did.
last week.
Did call that one
I think
out.
they're pretty dominant. I mean, they're a sneaky or a sneaky good team that can come in and make some noise as a small school. So
But I also did see Boise State made their way in there. Did they
Boise
not?
State, yeah, Boise State is up to 17. They jumped 4 spots.
Okay.
I mean, another dominant win. They're just kind of riding steady at 4-1.
Ashton Junty making his case for the
Man,
Heisman.
that guy, he is a dog. He's putting up some numbers. He's making
Had
his case for Heisman. You know what I mean?
He had close to, I think, around 167 yards off of
Yeah.
10 or 11 carries in the
And he
first
played
half with 3 touchdowns.
played for like 3 quarters. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
Yeah, and he's definitely making his case.
yeah,
And
he's
I
averaging
love it.
200 yards
I'm
a
all on
game.
board with him.
200
Yeah,
yards a
I'm all
game
on
is
board.
crazy. So, but yeah, so then just falling short of the top 25 was USC at 26 and the University of Nebraska Lincoln at 27. So we had a close win against Rutgers and made our case for the top 25, but we will probably have to wait a couple more weeks to see if we can get in there. So looking forward to that. Obviously, big game on the road against Indiana in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so huge weekend.
Yeah.
7 upsets this weekend. If you didn't watch college football, you missed out on a whole
yeah.
lot. This weekend was absolutely crazy. It was just probably one of the best college football Saturdays you'll ever watch. It was just
Yeah.
something else.
And
But
I mean, looking into this coming weekend, it's going to be another, interesting weekend to see how it unfolds with all the top teams playing each other and seeing what we come up with. But I guess that takes us into, segment 2 with our 6 and 60, a fun little segment that we do here where, we ask each other 6 games. We have 60 seconds to give our winner and a little short reason why we think that. And we will obviously show our records from previous weeks on the screen here for you guys to view. Obviously, I had a tough week last week. I
made a little bounce back. I will say I made a little bounce back on that. And then this week,
I went 2-4, right?
yeah.
And you went?
I went 3-3.
3-3. So 2-4 and 3-3. So I am still leading the race here at 7-5.
By one game. By one game. But
7-5 to
week,
6-6.
I
But
tell you what, this week is going to change.
there's some tough games, I will say. So
I'm just telling you.
if we want to jump right into it, we can get this thing rolling.
Let's do it. I got my timer ready.
All right, let's
You want to ask me first?
let's get
do
this
it.
timer rolling. Let's go.
Okay. Penn State, USC.
I think both of these teams are interesting. Penn State hasn't played many tough games. I wouldn't say USC coming off a tough loss. But because it's in California, I'd take USC over this on a bounce-back win.
Wisconsin, Rutgers.
Wisconsin, Rutgers. After seeing Rutgers, they're a pretty tough team. I don't think they can get it done against Wisconsin. I'm taking Wisconsin on the road.
Arizona, BYU.
BYU is a pretty tough team, but I think Arizona gets it done on the road. Arizona.
Ole Miss, LSU.
Ole
At
Miss.
LSU.
Ole Miss for sure.
Ole Miss.
They're going to come back.
Okay. At
They're going to
LSU.
go hot. Yep, at LSU. Yep.
Okay. Louisville, Virginia.
Louisville, Virginia. I'm gonna take the bounce back win for Louisville to beat Virginia on the road. Taking all these on the road teams.
Okay. South Carolina, Alabama.
Alabama for sure. At home. All right, just in time. So now it's my turn to ask Carlos. Carlos, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Got a timer ready
Let's do
here.
it.
Got a timer ready. And your first game is Ohio State at Oregon. Big
Ohio
game.
State at Oregon.
2 versus 3.
This kind of goes with my studs and duds.
Ooh.
You'll see that later.
All right.
I go Oregon at home. It's at Austin Stadium. I
like
think
it.
Oregon takes it.
I like it. Next game, Washington versus Iowa.
Washington, they'd have a long hike to Iowa. I take Iowa with their defense.
All right.
I think Iowa takes it, honestly.
K-State versus Colorado.
K-State goes into Colorado. Avery Johnson, I think, tears down Colorado's defense, just makes them look like Nebraska did. And I think K-State takes it.
18 seconds. Texas, Oklahoma.
Texas. Got to take Texas.
Stanford, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. It's at home. Notre Dame. Easy.
Clemson, Wake Forest.
Clemson. They come off a big win. Clemson.
I like it. I like it. I like it. And
Easy.
time. All right, just in time. I like those picks. There's a lot of good games. It's definitely going to be a fun weekend to watch some football. There are a lot of night games, which is fun to watch. Obviously, under the lights and that kind of thing.
Yeah. If you have the chance, I think you'll get to watch all of them. They're all separated perfectly.
Yeah.
So you can see all of them if you want.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be worth it. Definitely check out our Instagram at rz.reports, rz.report. That is not plural. Vote on the games. Give us your thoughts. But that kind of wraps it up for segment 3. On to segment 4, studs and duds. This week, our studs are a couple
It's a good
interesting
week
ones.
for studs and duds.
Yeah.
I think this is.
Yeah.
I think this is a week where we're going to see some emerging players kind
I
of
think
stand
so.
out.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time. It's mid-season. We're right in the middle of everything.
Teams are going to separate themselves this
Yeah,
week.
I mean it's time that you either make or break yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. All right.
So-
You started out, Los. What do you got?
My stud this week is Avery Johnson, Kansas State quarterback. I think
like
he goes into Boulder and shows off his skills, his running ability, and also his throwing ability. I think he shows what he's been doing the last few weeks. He goes to Oklahoma State and demolishes them.
well.
I think he keeps doing that as when they go into Boulder. The Boulder doesn't they don't have a defense like you would think that they should have
Right.
after the year that they had last year.
Yeah.
Their defense still isn't really on top of their game. But
I like that.
I
I feel like
like
K-State, they've had a lot of up and down games this year, but I like that pick. I like it.
yeah. So for my dud this week
What do you
will
got?
be
Oh, boy.
who will it be?
Who's it going to be? Give me something good here.
Will Howard, Ohio State, going into Austin Stadium, playing Oregon. It's a 2 versus 3. It's going to be a crazy game. I think it's
That's
going to
hot.
be offense versus offense going at it.
That's a hot
I know
take.
Ohio State has a hot defense, but I think Oregon can match their defense with the weapons they have on the outside.
That
and their
offense
line.
is unstoppable. I mean, both offenses. It's going to be crazy. I'd be interested
It's
to
gonna be a
see
big
what
game.
that over-under number is because,
Yeah, and I haven't looked into
Me neither.
it, but I know it's got to be up there.
yeah, I mean, with those two offenses, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel, I think he's going to put up a game. I mean, why not? I mean, he's got the weapons he needs. He's got the line he needs to show that. I mean, why not take Oregon? I think it's a
Absolutely.
good game. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yep. All right, for my stud, this kind of leads right into my stud. I've got Dylan Gabriel, Oregon, at home against Ohio
Like
State.
it. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I
Exactly
just
what
don't know if Ohio State's defense has really been tested by a good team, a good quarterback.
Exactly.
He's been throwing the ball all over the yard. He can run. Yeah, I mean, he's just got to have a solid game on him, and I think they'll be all right. And they'll take it into the fourth quarter, at least
I think-
close. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think with Ohio State, it's going to be kind of a wake up game for them.
Yeah.
They
See where they're
haven't
at.
played anything crazy. They play Iowa's defense. They're good, but Iowa's also 2-3. They're
Yeah.
maybe even 2-4 now after that loss. So it's not great.
No.
I mean,
no.
they haven't really proved anything other than Iowa,
Right.
but we'll see.
Yep. No, I like that. My dud for this week. Not sure who it's going to be really. Who they're going to go with because they've had some quarterback controversies. But it's DJ Lagway and or Graham Mertz against Tennessee.
I like it.
I think Tennessee coming off that loss, they're going to show something, to Florida, and they're going to take it to them. Yeah, I just don't know. It just doesn't seem they. I get that Graham Mertz has had a couple good games these last couple weeks, but they're going to play a really tough Tennessee defense that had a loss last week. But I think you know, they're going to be a dud this week for sure. So,
Yeah, I think so. I like that.
Yep.
I think so.
All right, so that rounds out our segment 3. Now we move into our segment 4, our recap of the Nebraska Rutgers game this past week. We're going to do it a little different this week. We're going to give our kind of 5 hot takes and kind of expand on those just a little bit. Keep things
Yes,
keep things rolling, short and sweet and to the point. Get over brush over the main topics here. But I guess what do you got the first topic here, Los?
First topic, I think, is very obvious. Talking about our defense, how they held stout. They did exactly what they needed to do. If anything, it was impressive, honestly.
Oh yeah,
that they could hold them to that when they have Kyle Monangai.
Mm-hmm.
He's going off this year. He's doing his job, and we hold him to 64 yards the first half, and then the second half, at the end of the game, he has just over 70.
Yeah, I mean, total of 78 yards. That's a defense.
When you're doing that to a running back, when your team's relying on your running back like that, and you do that to their running back, it's hard to win games when a defense is kind of just completely tearing down what your main strength is. So I give props to Nebraska's defense for that. They did more than what they needed to do.
Yeah, Kyle Monangai, there was a lot of talk around him coming into this week, and for obvious reasons, the guys ran the ball hard, and obviously we saw that in the first quarter. But then we really settled in and found how we were going to beat him. He was kind of their only weapon that they could use. But one stat that I found really interesting was that the Husker defense is the only team in FBS to not allow a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, very impressive. Again,
that's a stat we can hang our hat on. Even after that punt block that we had, Nate Borkature chased the guy down after the punt block, and they were on like the 5-yard line. They were on the 5-yard line.
They had it on the 2.
On the 2-yard line, and we gave a 4-play stand.
6. They had 6 plays at it.
Yeah, 6 plays to get 2 yards, and they couldn't get it with a stellar play, by Marquise Buford to break up that pass there on 4th and goal.
Almost had the pick six. Almost had it bounced right in his hands. He had 100 yards sitting there waiting for him.
He would have been gone.
Just the green grass.
But hey, what can we say?
A stop's a stop.
Yeah, and we had a lot of questions after last week about our defense and how they played. But yeah, they really showed out who they were, and they made a stand on multiple third down and fourth downs. Rutgers was in scoring territory, or their side of or our side of the field for multiple possessions, and we got negative plays to get a punt, and then we had 2 picks. Like they were doing things right.
We held them to a 52-yard field goal.
Yep.
When you hold a kicker for that, to that distance, it's hard for him to kick it in
those conditions.
At that distance, especially with being in Lincoln at that time. It's 97 degrees, over 20-mile-an-hour gusts, and with that stadium, one side of the end zone to the other side, it completely switches. So it's crazy to think about how the stadium it happens like that, but that's Nebraska weather, and
absolutely. And talking about wind, that moves us into our second topic. Probably one of the MVPs of the game, Brian Buschini.
Yeah,
that guy,
unsung hero. Just like Matt Will said, he's an unsung hero that week.
He knows the wind, and they study that stuff too. It's crazy the amount of times they study that stuff, and they knew that the wind was going to change mid-game.
Yeah.
and so that's why they chose to have the ball first, so then they could be with the wind in the fourth quarter, and that's some elite coaching right there by Matt Rule.
I mean that's it.
That's cool.
That's about as elite of strategy as you could get.
Yeah.
I mean, most coaches probably don't think that deep, but
No, right. And
yeah, that's just
I
crazy.
mean, although we had two punts blocked, I think Matt Rule touched on that a little bit today. That both plays there was a missed block. One was by Isaac Gifford, and I can't remember who the other guy was that had a
I think
missed
it was
block.
Elijah Judy.
Elijah Judy. I mean, they were sending like one more guy than we had to cover, so it was like bound to happen. And they really weren't covering our gunners, which we saw very quickly, and
Yeah.
capitalized on that.
And Matt Rule said he was like, even in our own five when we were about to punt the ball,
He about faked
after
it.
after they blocked that first one, he was gonna do that play that he later did,
Yeah,
throwing from Bushini to Jalen Lloyd for that pickup that we had, and
yeah.
it
Wouldn't
was
that
just
wouldn't that have been something if Jalen Lloyd broke that for a touchdown?
and
That
that's
would have
that's
been
what Matt Rule said.
crazy
Is those are the kind of things they need to work on because it could have definitely been a play that definitely could have broke for that touchdown.
to put us
I
up
mean,
21. Yeah,
when they have one guy back there and he gets you by the arm,
we got
I
to
mean,
find a way to make a guy
you
miss.
make the play. You do your job, then you make the play,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's kind of what he did his job, but then he didn't make the play. It's just things like that.
yeah. He talked about Matt Rule talked about how during halftime, Brian Buschini and Jalen Lloyd were on the practice field practicing that throw because they knew they were going to do it.
Which is crazy. I've
And I
never
think
heard of a
I
team going
know
out and going on their practice
at
field
halftime.
at halftime
I
and
thought it
like
was even
scheming something
crazier.
up.
What I thought was even crazier was in one of the press conferences with Brian Buschini. They said, "Were you practicing on the turf field or what were you doing?" And he said, "No, we were on the grass field because we
Yeah,
wanted to get the wind direction." And I'm like, that's some detailed stuff there. Like
yeah,
they're
that's
putting in
about as
that work.
detailed as it gets. Yeah,
And I mean, they said that Brian Buschini has one of the best arms on the team. And this was
and this is
the
how I mean, bro threw a dot.
he did.
He threw
Yeah.
a dot, bro.
And yeah, this is the first ever, successful fake that he's thrown to someone, is what he said.
Yeah, yeah.
And it looked good. I mean, and especially after getting two blocks on him, and the guy went
And getting
down,
hurt.
and he was down. Like I didn't know if he was going to get up.
To be honest, the way he laid there, man, I thought he was knocked out, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh no.
And
But
then the way he came back in the game, and he said I was not going to go out by myself. Like somebody was going to have to take me out, or I was going to have to punt like a 10-yard punt or 15-yard punt or something for them to say,
yeah,
hey, put the backup in.
yeah,
But yeah, and then at the end of the game, he makes a game-changing punt, 70-yard punt, like to seal the
yeah,
game, to give them the ball to drive, what was it, 90 yards down the field to, potentially
yeah.
tie the game.
Yeah, a 70-yard punt while you're about, let's say, 65%
Yeah,
healthy.
right.
I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, it
And
blew my mind. But
what Brett Maher, he went over and talked to him right before that game and said this is going to be a game-changing punt right here, and he kind of called it and said, yeah, this is your time to shine. Not many moments can a punter make that big of an impact on a game, but I'm telling you, he made that impact.
for sure.
And yeah, I think he played well, and he was kind of one of the MVPs on the team. Hopefully, he stays healthy, gets back with this bye week, so we can have him for Indiana.
Also, Nebraska playing in sync is still kind of a struggle for us. I mean,
Yeah,
we've been seeing, defense plays good, offense plays mediocre, or other way around, or it seems like we can't get a full 4 quarters of us playing complementary football to
yeah,
each other. I guess win factors, kind of went into this game. You had to kind of scheme things a little different, but
yeah,
with those kind of conditions, I think you have to scheme for that and know what you're working with. And I think they kind of knew that, but also you got to give credit to Rutgers and their defense for all the kinds of different things they threw at Dylan, different personnel groups, just everything that went into the defense.
yeah.
Just kind of threw him off, I think, a little bit. So
Yeah, and I mean, it's so easy to point fingers at Dylan for all of those mistakes and for everything that he's seeing. He's doing well as an 18-year-old quarterback, or 19 years old, however old he is.
Yeah, 19.
Being put in
He's
there
19.
in that tough spot and making those decisions on the fly as the defense is thrown at him. Matt Rule gave Rutgers obviously a lot of, props for the defense that they threw at him. And we were talking earlier on the phone about, the quarterback play is judged a lot harder this year than it has been for a long time. I mean,
And it will be. And it will be for
yeah,
the next whoever knows how long.
it will be. And we just have a high standard for this guy, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but we have to realize where we're at and realize how much he's accomplished this year. And, is it really on all him, or, a lot of factors go into it. Is the line giving him enough time to block? I think for the most part, the line is doing a pretty good job this year. Was it the receivers not being able to get open in time for him to get the ball off? Or, was it the scheme? Like, did they throw something at him that they weren't really prepared for in the week of preparation? So, a lot of things go into it.
And that's kind of one of my concerns is like going into Indiana next week. Did the Rutgers show something that
We didn't study.
yeah? Did they show something that Indiana might have
Yeah.
to go into it? Like, did the Rutgers show something that Dylan's not comfortable with that Indiana could show?
Is going to use. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that they might use as their advantage. I don't know. Dylan has a whole week to
Yeah.
study it. Well, pretty much a week and like 5 days
Yeah.
to study this.
And hopefully we
So-
can correct it on our end just as much as Indiana's trying to use it.
And with Dylan's preparation, I think he's going to dial it in. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's way ahead of the ball game. He's a 19-year-old quarterback playing in like a 22-year-old quarterback's mind.
He is.
He's doing things that a lot of juniors and seniors don't do.
No,
So-
yeah. I mean, we're very grateful for, the guy that we have, and I think we just need to embrace it and hopefully see progression as the year goes on.
Just trust the process.
Yeah,
That's all
absolutely.
it
I
is.
mean, he's not been bad. He hasn't been bad. And if we compare ourselves to quarterback play last year at this time, like, there's not even a comparison. I mean,
Well,
I can't. I
and
mean,
that's-
I hate to say it about Heinrich Harburg, but he's a great guy. But the quarterback play was just not in his hands. You know what I mean? So,
and I don't think he was just as developed as he
no.
should have been.
Yep.
But also the way Dylan approaches the game and the way he's 19 years old, I don't think you can honestly judge him for having a bad game. He's 19.
Yeah.
He went into a Rutgers game. The Rutgers are 5-0.
Yeah.
And he still came out with a win. I mean,
Absolutely.
He
Win's
put
a
up
win.
14 points, and that's it.
Wins a
That's all there
win.
is to it.
I mean, last year we were looking at arm motions and arm angles and like the way Heinrich was throwing the ball and the turnovers. And this year we're looking at, reading a defense or, scheming something to beat the defense. We are looking at the minor details this year instead of
Yeah.
the broad details last year. So
Yeah.
a lot of progress there from last year, this year. Next topic, we go into the running game struggles. I feel like this was still an issue, but although it was an issue, we had three guys that were in the game at crucial moments, and they all pretty much got the job done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We would like to
I
see
think-
those runs, going for, 7, 8, 10, 12 yards. But I will say they are getting the job done. We just like to be a little bit better. We only had 98 yards on the ground. Like, with three running backs, that's not getting the job
Yeah.
done. So
I mean, that's like Matt Rule said. We have guys running 12 yards. You got Ramir Johnson making
Yeah.
plays, but what's it going to take to break that open? We haven't seen a run break open that goes for 60-yard touchdown or anything like
we need that. Yeah,
We need to see it, and we're just trust the process. It's going to happen eventually.
Yep.
But we need to make it happen soon to
We do.
go into this gauntlet of this
I know.
rest of the schedule
It's gonna
that
be brutal.
Nebraska has.
yeah. I mean, we saw a new starter this week, and Emmett Johnson started. Dante Dowdell came in as kind of like the power back on third and short, fourth and short, which I also thought was interesting that they brought in Micah Mazuka for those kind of
Yep.
plays.
Yep.
But I mean, fourth down, we were like 4 for 4, and third down percentage that was fairly good early in the game. Second half not so much, but
Yeah.
it's still three guys playing the game, still not a set starter kind of thing, which is I think good to a point. But I'd like to have one set starter with two rotational backups. You know what I mean? Like we need to have a guy
Yeah.
separate himself and make those
I think
60-yard
I
runs.
think a good strategy to have is have a guy go out there like Dante.
Yeah,
Have a guy go out there just put his physicalness to that defense
yeah,
and show their defense what they have, and then bring in a guy like Ramir Johnson, break it out on the outside, show
use the
them that
speed.
they have to cover all sides of the fields in the run game.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. So I think that's going to be something that we definitely have to keep an eye on moving forward in these big games. Who separates himself in these next couple games, and how that develops as we go on. Obviously, Ja'Cory Barney made a pretty big impact on this game as well. Had a couple explosive plays. We've talked about him in previous weeks. That guy.
and I think Ja'Cory Barney is going to be the tone setter. He's going to
Yeah,
be the difference maker in the rest of our season going forward. I think he's the guy that's going to need to be able to make plays. We're going to need him to get him on the outside. He's going to need to be a wide receiver
yep,
that makes plays. I think he's got to be we got to have him on all facets of the field
yep,
just to be a key player.
yeah. All right, for our last topic, we have Sierra Wright coming in for the injured Tommy Hill with the plantar fasciitis. He's playing well. I mean, he's like one of our better DBs that we have, and he's coming in as a backup. So, what happens to Sierra when Tommy Hill comes back? Like Tommy Hill was
I
supposed to come back this game, but it was kind of a last minute game decision. They decided not to
Yeah.
go with him. But we have a strong Sierra Wright. So, what do we do with Sierra Wright when Tommy Hill comes back?
So the way I think it should go, I mean, I'm just giving my personal opinion.
Yeah,
You know,
let's hear it.
I think honestly, you put Tommy Sierra on the outsides, you put Marquise Buford back at safety, you take Malcolm Hartsock out. I mean, he's doing his job, but I think Marquise Buford, he's played safety. That's what
Yeah,
he's used to.
yeah,
So I think honestly, if you take Malcolm Hartsock out, I think you'd be just in just as good a position, if not maybe better. So I think that's a great play. I mean, because the way that Sierra Wright's playing
man,
at
he's
this
physical.
early of coming in from the transfer portal and only having just the summer to work with Nebraska, I just don't see how you could take him out of the game.
Yeah, no. I like the rotation, getting a guy in that's fresh when a guy, is getting a little winded or they're throwing it his way multiple times. Get another guy in that's fresh. And Malcolm Hartzog, he's still a good player. You know what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
one guy, just say Sierra goes out for a play, you bring Malcolm in.
yeah,
Tommy Hill goes out, you have Malcolm right there on both sides. Like he could play either side.
absolutely.
I think
Yeah. I think
I
that's
think he's just a number two.
I like that. I like that. Sierra's got to be in the game. He's a difference maker for sure. Crazy
Brings a lot of
fact.
energy.
Yeah, crazy fact. He's in multiple movies. He was actually doing a little part-time gig in California as he was playing. That's one of the things that oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. The coach's
That's
name.
what drove him away from Lincoln Riley in
Yeah,
USC.
Lincoln Riley. Yeah, Lincoln Riley didn't like him doing the part-time gig as an actor. But he's not doing any acting right now. His focus is
And if you didn't
football.
know, he was in Space Jam
That's
too.
crazy.
He
Yeah,
was in the movie. He was LeBron James' son.
that's
So
crazy.
if you didn't know,
Yeah,
watch. You'll see Nebraska's cornerback playing in a
the
movie
guy's a
in
star.
Space Jam.
The guy is
Yeah,
a star, and he can
nuts.
play football. Yeah, I mean, people have said it multiple times that he just has the football brain. You know what I mean? Like,
He's got energy.
yeah,
The best thing about him, he loves football, and that's what
yeah,
Matt Rule says. He's not all this and all that, all about himself. He just loves playing the game,
yep.
and that's what you want out of a football player.
And he has that
So
physicality coming from California. Like he plays physical,
yeah,
and that's kind of what we need out there.
yeah,
But I think that kind of wraps it up for our last segment.
yeah.
Kind of all I have, unless you have anything else, Los.
I think that's it. So, I mean, this was our third episode. I mean, we broke down the college football rankings. We went into our regular segments, 6 and 60, and then our studs and duds. If you guys have any opinions or anything on the rankings, let us know on Instagram, like we said, at rz.report. But yeah, that was it. We recapped Nebraska to finish it off. Go look at our Instagram. Just go look at it. Give us your thoughts on anything that we have, polls, hot takes. You're going to see the upcoming games this week that we have. Make your picks on our stories.
Yep.
We'd love to look at those and just see what you guys have to say. So
We are now. Yeah, go
if
ahead.
you guys want to stay tuned in, just come here. We'll be here every week.
Absolutely. So we are now, we have been live, I guess, on all three platforms: YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Links are in our bio at rz.reports on Instagram. Go follow us, subscribe to the YouTube, give us some views. Yeah, and stick around. Give us your ideas. Give us any questions that we want to throw in here, and we'll definitely debate them. So that's all I have. Thanks for listening
Stay
in.
tuned in.
We'll be back next week. We
Yes,
out.
sir.